screen again. Good. Okay, so tonight we're talking about scoring, in particular duplicate scoring. This bridge scoring is really quite eccentric, isn't it? I mean, it's all strange figures like 170, 420, really quite eccentric. But it's been specially designed in a way that makes the game interesting. I mean, we all obviously know about how many points per trick you get, but the way it was designed must have been over a century ago, is responsible for the interest in the game, in that, you know, you only have to make 9 tricks for no trumps, 10 tricks for a major suit, and 11. And you can see how that works, because if you add up your points for tricks, if they come to 100, it's game. So 5 20s make 100, so 5 clubs, 5 diamonds is game. 4 30s make 120, so 4 hearts and 4 spades are game. And similarly, 40 plus 30 plus 30 makes 100. So did you know that that it's when you've got to 100 in terms of points? We've got Gene Pistons, and that's where the game comes from, the game idea. And of course, you get your 300 or 500 if it's vulnerable. Okay, all old stuff. And for a part score, you get your 50-point bonus. I'm going to run through most of this. So there are some people who are a little bit hazy about the scoring. But I must say my job is made much easier by the very few mistakes these days. So I'm probably, you know, preaching to the converted, really. So just some examples there. So you get a 50-point bonus on top of your trick score. So, for example, 2 hearts is 110. We all know this, but let's make sure we cover it all. And then for your slam, new game is 300, 500 if vulnerable, and then slam 500. That 500, by the way, is added on to the 300. So I suppose the real bonus is 800 there. So often slams are something like 900 and something, if not vulnerable. And then there's your Grand Slam. Now, it's quite a while since we had a Grand Slam. I think it was Brendan last year. Didn't you make one at some point?
That's right, yeah.
7 clubs,
yes,
that's right.
That's history now.
Oh, I would always bring that up in conversation if I were you.
Yeah.
Well done. Any questions about that? I think you're all pretty familiar with all this. Good. So we know the basic stuff. And then you got your unsuccessful contracts. Well, that's 50 points a trick, 100 if you're vulnerable. I mean, vulnerability affects either if you go down or if you make game. In part scores, it doesn't actually make any difference. So a lot of people say, oh, should I bid 2 spades? Oh, I'm vulnerable or I'm not vulnerable. It doesn't make any difference in the part score range. Okay. In fact, the time when you should be aggressive is actually when you're both green, when you're both not vulnerable. And the time you should be careful is when you're both vulnerable. Okay. And of course, I remember my mother went to bridge lessons and she complained people bid stupid contracts. So I said, well, why don't you double them? You know? So they hadn't been taught that. And actually, when I'm scoring, I really still don't see many doubles on the cards, on the Travellers. Which rather suggests actually that we're still not doubling enough, you know.
Keith's back.
He's still not doubling enough. But is Keith the chief doubler?
Yes. Yes.
Double agent.
Double agent, right. Right. The doubling penalties have been designed rather carefully years ago, because at one time people used to make ridiculous bids. I think there was a time when you could actually bid something like 8 hearts. or 9 diamonds. Even though it's impossible, it could have been worth the sacrifice. So that many years ago, the scoring system was changed so that the further you go down, the greater the penalties per trick. So that if you're vulnerable, although the first trick's 200 down, after that it's 300. If you're not, it's a bit more complicated. 100 for the first under trick. An under trick is simply a one below the contract. Second and third, 200. And after that, it's 300. And this might be the first area where some people are not quite sure. I mean, these days, of course, with bidding cards, it does make it a lot easier. So we're happy with doubling and penalties for that. Now, the one that I've never really managed to quite memorize is what happens if you double somebody and the contract is successful. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not just as simple as the points being doubled, because in certain contracts, and you can see them listed there, just getting a bit of interference from somebody, I don't know if they need to switch something off. Certain contracts are doubled into game. So if you double them and they're successful, they get the score for as well. I don't know whether somebody's got an extra speaker near them, but it's making the most strange noise.
That wouldn't be my dog snoring, would it? I'll chuck him out.
Well, that's an achievement. I've sent your dog to sleep, John.
Ben, come on, Ben. Ben, come on, this way. Come on.
Well, that's that. That's that mystery.
Yeah,
Obviously.
sorry about. Oh, he's back in. Right, come on, Ben, Ruby, you two. Go on, both out there. Go on, go on. Well, I have that 24 hours a day, so I've got used to it. Sorry.
Just as long as you haven't been savaged there. Yeah. John, it really should be going rough in this.
Oh, very good.
I doubt if anybody will trump that joke. Next page. Okay. With those successful double contracts, by the way, I've never quite memorized them. Is there anybody here who can do it without even thinking? I can't. Incidentally, talking of successful double contracts, and that, I think you know what I'm going to say. Most of us don't double enough, except Keith. If you are if you double somebody and they make it, you do feel a fool, don't you?
Yeah.
But if it only happens one time in 4, what's your score? Something like 75%. We'll all accept 75%, wouldn't we, on the score sheet?
Yeah.
David, would you accept that?
Absolutely.
Right, yes. So, in other words, don't feel you always have to be successful to double. It is quite a difficult thing to judge, of course. Right, now we come on to duplicate bridge, and we'll just run through this. Several people have asked me to explain the whole duplicate system. Now, the whole point of duplicate is that it removes most of the luck element. I mean, I always say that, but of course, in all forms of sport, there is a tiny element of luck, isn't there? Because your opponent might make a horrible blunder and give you a birthday present. But if you play rubber bridge, for example, it's a large amount is, what kind of hand you hold. And I still get the occasional person who's leaving on Tuesday saying, oh, I didn't get any points today, so I couldn't do well. And of course, as I think we all know, your hands are only compared with other people playing exactly the same boards. So we agree a number of rounds according to how much time we've got, and usually we have it that east-west move around the room, although it doesn't have to be that way. There is one, this is called the Mitchell movement. I'm not going to go into how this evening, Although I must once again thank Sheila Gales for converting me completely to Howell, which has been, I think, a great success with Group 1. I didn't think it would be, but they're a group who really pay attention, so we don't have any problem with that. And of course, the advantage of the Howell movement is everybody plays everybody, if there's time anyway. One little thing you have to watch as director, of course, in a Mitchell movement is that if there's an even number of tables, if you go and forget, say there's 10 tables, and you go and forget at round 6 that you've got to skip a table, you'll hear the horrible voice saying, "We played these boards." Because if you sit and work it out, by the time pair 1 move to table 6, they've moved 5 tables, but unfortunately the boards have also moved backwards 5 tables, and that solves the mystery of why we have to skip a table if there's an even number of tables.
Chris,
And I certainly forgot. Yes, we've got our first real question, I think.
Yeah, just a comment really. When we were members of the Bowls Club playing bridge, they had a slightly different system on this even number of tables. And I think it worked quite well. It meant you played everybody in the circuit by not skipping a table. But the way to do it, let's say there were 6 tables, tables 1 and 6 would be sitting next to each other in the circle, and they had a chair between them where you put their boards on that table. So let's say they're playing 3 boards, tables 1 and 6 would share those 3 boards, and then there'll be a relay chair.
So really, it's like a table 11 that doesn't exist. I think Ron suggested that to me, and perhaps we'll try that so we don't have to.
It works very well because you don't have to remember, and the only problem for 1 and 6 is that if you've got 3 boards, you're never waiting for a board because obviously there are 3 boards. So if you play board 1, you pick up board 2.
You do realise, Christopher, what you're doing, don't you? You are talking yourself into being director the next time there is the joint session.
Well, Ron and I will be happy to help. It's not difficult. I mean, you just have to remember that there's a relay chair halfway between 3 and 4, which also has boards on them. And that means it works its way out. So you put the boards on the chair as well. So let's
try that at the end of this month, shall we? If there's an,
okay. I'm not here, but yes, I'm happy to volunteer.
Okay, well, we'll try that at the end of February. I don't think everybody agrees with this, but I always rather enjoy our joint sessions. Okay, on we go. So that's called the Mitchell movement after its inventor, presumably. The boards themselves we're pretty familiar with. The idea, of course, is that they disguise the score thing called the traveller inside. Boards, you probably noticed this, actually come in sets of 16 because it needs 16 different combinations. You see, you've got 4 different dealers you could have, haven't you? North, south, east and west. And you've got 4 different vulnerabilities. Now 4 times 4 is 16. So if you do it in the right order, you can have every one of those 16 combinations. The dealer, as you've noticed, is just rotated. It's as simple as that. Goes north, east, south, west, and then back to north again. In order to make the vulnerability fair, you can see the system down below, which ensures that there is some mnemonic you can use to remember that if you're interested in these things. It's called BONE. Your dog would have liked this bit, John. And BONE stands, can you imagine anybody guess what BONE stands for?
Bone 1 northeast.
It's something like that, yeah. It's both nobody, O, north, south and east, west. And bone is the order of the vulnerability. Now that works for boards 13, 14, 15 and 16. And you just do anagrams of bone to get the others. But you'd have to be particularly mathematically obsessive to want to learn that. But that's how it's worked out, by the bone method. Okay, any questions on that? This is a fairly academic interest at the moment, I do realise that. Moving on. The travellers themselves, again, still on stuff that most of you are fairly happy about, what we write on the traveller. And, you know, sometimes, and it happened with one score yesterday, by the way. The score itself contradicted what was written in the contract and tricks. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
It might be 1 no trump making 8 tricks, but the score was 90. Now that's a dilemma for me because it's guesswork, isn't it? I can't really start phoning up people about that. They won't remember. So which score do you think I take in that kind of situation?
You avoid the calculator,
90.
because that's where the error is.
Do the 8 tricks.
I write down the figure that's there.
It would be.
And the reason I do that, unless it's completely insane, the reason I do that is because East has the equal responsibility of checking the traveller. And that's the figure they should be looking at, you know. Anyway, out of how many different comparisons we had yesterday, there was only one mistake like that. And I just had to take not the 1 no trump plus 1, I had to take the 90. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
The actual number written down. I mean, it's something that might just make a point or 2 difference. And it, as I say, it's happening less and less, so that's great. So
Yes,
we're
can I-
happy with, yes,
can I say
travellers.
something?
Question about travellers.
Yes. When I do the scoring for the other people, it's always +1 or +2, -1, -2, not the actual score of 80 that you actually put on the, don't put 8 tricks or 9 tricks, it's either +1 or -1. But when I get the travellers, you have some people put +1, -1, and some people put 9 tricks and 8 tricks.
Right. Now, I think we need to be consistent, don't we? Okay. So why don't we come to an agreement here and now, the way our club does it? What do you think?
Yeah.
Number of tricks.
Right. Number of tricks, I tend to slightly favour that, actually, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because these pluses and minuses and equals can look a bit vague. Are we all agreed, people who are here? There's about 15 of you.
Yeah.
Number of tricks. Then there's no room for, yeah, I mean, that's nice and plain, isn't it? Do you agree with that, Tony?
Yeah, that's fine, whichever way, it's not a problem.
Right. The other thing, by the way, if you do double, don't put a big fat squiggly star, please. Sometimes it just looks like a crossing out. Just put the letter X. Can we agree on that as well?
Yep.
Okay.
But honestly, the scoring is hardly any problem. Right. Okay. Anything else about travellers? So we agreed on number of tricks. It's a small thing, but scoring is quite a long job, especially if you're not used to it. We want to help the scorer. Moving on. Now, this is the bit that certainly some of my group aren't clear about. Why is it that duplicate bridge is about as fair as you can get? Well, because your scores that we write on the travellers, and the one that I say I take notice of, is one thing. The really important thing is if you're sitting east, who are your real opponents? The other east-west.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you want to do well as you can against the north-souths that have just arrived at your table, but your real opponents on yesterday were the other 8 east-wests. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Because what my job when I get home is to compare, and Jonathan's as well, of course, is to compare east with other easts. Sorry, east-west with other east-west. North-south with other north-souths. Okay. Now, if you're not aware of how it works, I take one, let's say, north-south pair, and looked at the other 8 scores on the same traveller. That's the same cards, isn't it? And each time they get a better score than somebody else, they get 2 points, 2 match points. This is to distinguish it from our ordinary points. Sometimes there's a tie and you're awarded 1 match point. Are we all clear about that idea?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the fiddly bit is just working it out on the travellers,
Yes.
although it doesn't. I've been doing it for 10 years and it does get reasonably automatic. So here's your first question tonight. We played 9. There were 9 pairs yesterday, weren't there?
Yeah.
What is the most match points that somebody could have scored on one board?
16.
Yeah,
16.
16, yeah.
His trip has not slowed him down, has it?
Yeah.
And it's not 18, of course, because if there's 9 pairs, you've only got 8 comparisons. So indeed, it's 16. So on each round, you could have played 16, and we had, this will get you. So in yesterday's competition, we had 9 tables and we did the whole circuit, which was great, easily, because we only had 2 boards around, by the way. What was the most match points you could score on yesterday morning?
144.
144.
I caught you out. I did say there were 2 boards around.
Uh,
Uh,
2 balls around. 288 then.
Yeah, it's Roy there,
Yeah.
first place. It was
288.
288. Now,
Yeah.
I have never been in a competition where anybody's got 100%. It's just the odds are astronomical. We've had 1 or 2 80s over the last few years, haven't we? But I don't think I've ever seen a 90. I remember somebody getting 89 once. Although, of course, if there's not that many of you, it's easier to get higher scores comparatively. So that's how it works.
Yeah.
And of course, all this. And then sometimes boards aren't played, or somebody's too slow.
Everybody gets the same.
Now,
amount of
what
points.
happens if somebody's too slow and they can't play a board? Well, I just don't count that board. Okay, I just don't count it. So when I'm dividing by the number played, I just reduce it by 1. Now, some people say they're giving you an average. Well, they're not really. They're giving you your own average. Because some people think, oh, I'm a poor player. It'd be nice to get an average. No, it doesn't work like that. You just get your own average. Is that clear?
I wondered how that worked, actually. Yeah.
And that's another reason why you have to have percentages. And also sometimes if there's a sit-out table, you don't all play the same number of boards anyway, or somebody has to go home, etc., etc. So that's why we.
Could I just ask, the average you're giving for the missed board, if you like, is the average you've scored on all the other boards, taking the total of the other boards and coming up with an average? Is that right?
Well, what you do is you take your match points,
Yeah.
which yesterday could have been as many as 288, but of course
Yeah.
wasn't for anybody.
Yeah.
And then you divide it by that maximum. So, for example, if you scored 140 match points, sorry,
Yes.
144 match points yesterday,
Yeah.
the most you could score was 288. So you'd be given 50%. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So it's an average of your own score, effectively. Yeah.
Incidentally, with my group 1, I don't put decimal points. And the reason for that is the score is almost never more than 100. So it gives a false impression of accuracy to give a decimal point. Now, like yesterday with 9 tables, with 288, you do obviously have to have decimal points there. So is that clear?
Chris, what happens if there's a hand that's passed out? How do you score that?
That's a good question. Right. That counts as 0. counts as 0. Now, if you're playing north-south, say, and you make your contract, you're going to get a plus score, okay? If you don't make your contract, you're going to get a minus score. If you pass out, the score is 0. So it doesn't mean you've done really badly. It means you've fallen exactly in the middle. Does that make sense? You know those blank spaces on the Travellers next to each score? They're really minus scores. We'll have a look at a Traveller in a minute. I'll show you what you mean. Incidentally, what's the rule you apply in fourth seat as to whether you should pass out or not?
Oh, you get extra.
As a
Rule
guide,
14 with spades.
Had 3 points.
rule of 15. The rule of 15.
Yeah.
Add your number of points to the number of spades. If it comes to 15, you're okay. The problem is if you haven't got many spades, by opening the bidding, you may be giving them a nice easy 1 or 2 spade contract. Catherine, does that answer your question? Oh,
Yes, it does. I mean, the only thing is have been occasions, and you see it if you play on Bridgebase online, where although there's a pass out, one team actually should have bid. And of course they get penalised if it's on Bridgebase online, but I don't know what happens here.
you don't get penalised at all here. You get a score which would be poor had the other north-souths made their contracts, but would, and more than once, I've got a top by passing out where I used to live. I don't mean I fainted in the middle of the competition. I mean that I passed out, and what other people did is they opened something like 1 diamond and let them in on spades, and nobody then knew the rule of 15. So it's a very smug feeling doing absolutely nothing to get a top score and just sitting back smiling.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Thank you.
Now, that it doesn't mean that people have bid wrongly, by the way. If the hand is passed out, it doesn't happen very often, but it's like a 0-0 draw in football. It doesn't mean anybody's played badly. It means that everybody's got about 10 points or so, and the last hand perhaps hasn't got many spades. So a pass out doesn't mean that something has gone wrong. Although I have to admit, one day my group sometimes say to me, should I have passed out on these hands? And I'll have a look at them. And then I got to the 4th hand and 2 cards were stuck together by a bit of coffee stain. So that's happened to all of us, I think. Okay. So passing out. Right, let's move on to, okay. And now, what I've done this week is I can hear, sorry, but I can hear somebody on the telephone or it's quite hard to concentrate.
My dog.
No, that's right, that's me. Oh, Carol's gone on. I've moved it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. What I've done this week, I've tried to simulate a whole duplicate tournament. Okay. So we've got the table numbers, which remain fixed, of course, and north-south, unless agreed otherwise, north-south sit at their table and they have the table number. Okay. There's no particular reason why you should do it that way, but that's the traditional way. And at the end of each round, as we know, the east-west pairs move up. They might have to skip a table with an even number of tables, or maybe not if we use this other system. And of course, the boards go the other way, and Norths have been very good at passing the boards round. And of course, as each board is played, it is then scored. Now, round 1 has been played. And as you can see, there are going to be 9 rounds. Why is there no score then on the scores? Is it a fault with my program? I'll ask the question again. Round 1 has already been played.
Right.
The Travellers have been put away there in the boards. There's
You
no
can't compare
score.
it with.
Got
Nothing to
nothing to
compare it
compare
with.
it with.
Nothing to compare it with, yeah.
Comparison. Yeah.
After the
Yeah.
first round, yes, it's obvious if you think about it.
Yeah.
You can't get a score if there's nobody to compare to.
Yeah.
You see, so well spotted. But however, when we get on to round 2, we have our first comparison. And of course, if we had, if we were a little bit richer as a club, we could buy a system where we enter the scoring and bidding electronically. They do this at the big clubs. They did this at Leon C. And there's a big television screen which showed you your score from round 2 onwards. Would you like that? Well, it's all right if you're top and your name's in highlights at the top. And look at pair 1 there on 100% at the moment. It's not so good if you're at the bottom. Has anybody ever played at a club where they have a big screen with the running scores on?
Yeah, they're called bridge mates, the system.
Bridge mates, that's right.
It's like a little, like a giant pocket calculator that you have on each table.
Right.
They're very expensive though, aren't they? The whole system. And this is obviously, I mean, Leon C Bridge Club, where I used to play, they had over 300 members. So it's the sort of thing. And you've got to have somebody who's pretty handy with computers as well to run the whole thing. But it does add a sense of drama to it. So let's see how those, how many boards have been played at this stage? This is the end of round 2.
4.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So if we look at the Travellers now, we can do this. We see that pair 1 in North-South has got the maximum.
Yeah.
So let's look at the Travellers they've played and see if that corresponds. Right. They played against East-West 1 and picked them by 10 points. Incidentally, notice somebody who shall be nameless in my group was distraught recently, I would say. It's no exaggeration, because they were doubled and went down for 1,400. And I said, look, it's not the end of the world. You've done no worse than pair 9 have done here. Can you see pair 9 there?
Yeah.
They scored 100, but pair 1 got 110. They don't get any points at this stage, but they might as well have been minus 1,400. That's one of the nice things about duplicate bridge, I think, is that every hand is equal. From 1 club to 7 no trumps to massive doubling scores, all that matters is the comparison. You see what I mean? So pair 1 got 2 there on Traveller 2. They also got 2, and I think we'll go to 3 and 4 now. Yes, they got another 2, didn't they?
Yeah.
You see that? Just go through that again. Pair 1, North-South. Of course, we can't see this while it's happening because it's all secret, isn't it? 2, 2, and 2. So they've got 8 out of 8, hence their 100%. It's the idea. And each time we move on, the number of points increases each time. So there's the score after round 3. And if we look at a Traveller, let's look at number 1 again. They've now got 3 on the Traveller. This is something we only see in between boards, of course, unless you're the director. Sometimes the director has to look at the Traveller, of course, to see if there's been some kind of mistake. And I often think it would be quite... I'm actually seriously considering at the end of next month announcing the results in this form to add extra excitement. Would you like that? The difference would be I will be putting your names up there. Oh, well, we'll see how we go. So we carry on until we have played all the boards. We can look at a Traveller at any time. All this is on the website if you want to study it. If you, it's not everybody wants to know that in this detail how everything works out mechanically. And we can see the table gradually altering there. I noticed that one pair are on the dizzy heights of 81. East-West pair 8, and
Yeah.
that's after 4 rounds. That's a pretty hot score. I
Yeah.
don't know if it'll stay like that. Let's play another round. Oh, they've slipped back a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah.
Oh, it's getting a pair 4 East-West have almost caught up. There's bigger range of points there than usual in East-West. You know, usually the top score's 60, the bottom's about 40. It does vary quite a lot. And there we are. There's the final scores. Do you see how it works?
Yeah.
And so you can look at, this was an amazing traveller. Which one was it? I have never known this happen before. Can you see that board 15, everybody got precisely the same score?
Mm.
Right.
Now that's, I've never seen that happen with quite so many tables before. I think it was, you might remember, it's 4 spades plus 2. 4 spades plus 2, everybody made. Now, in case you haven't worked this out already,
Yeah.
does it have an element of familiarity about it?
Yes, that was the board last week.
Yes.
Yeah, it was last week.
Yeah, there was one.
Yes, I've preserved anonymity so far, but in fact, this was the board last week at the end of, this is January the 31st. So who was pair 4? Beryl and David?
Were we? All right. No, at least we didn't come last.
I thought, shall I put the names in? I won't at this stage, no, but I could have done. So that's quite interesting how it works. Do you know, can you remember who was pair 8 East-West?
No.
Somebody
Yeah,
here should. Somebody
That's
here
us.
should.
That's us,
We were.
Brendan and Jenny.
I'd like to say it was Brendan, but no, that was Christopher and Peter.
How was it?
All right.
Christopher and, are you still with us, Christopher? He doesn't seem to be there.
Yes, sorry, we were muted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
Oh, sorry, no, so, yeah, that was Christopher and Peter, and just and that was Lynn and Pearl, I think, number 4.
Yeah.
So that's how it all works, and I hope it's answered some of the questions
Yeah.
that you may have had. And I probably won't do scoring again because I think we've not everybody wants to be scorer and director, but I do feel when you play duplicate bridge, you should at least know how it actually works, and you'll never leave the room saying, "Oh, I had terrible points today. I was bound not to do very well." Okay.
Now, can I just say, Chris, there's a lot of players who play East-West and say, well, why do you play East-West? Oh, well, I don't like scoring. Learn.
No, thank you.
I think really
He's
everybody in the room now at Martlesham should know how to score. We're not talking about new beginners coming in. They should know, they shouldn't necessarily, they shouldn't know how to score match points, that doesn't matter, but they should know how to score the raw points on the Traveller.
Chris,
Do we-
on that subject, I mean, I've got to confess, I can never remember the scoring whilst in play. But I mean, you can look on the back of the cards, can't you? And get the on the bidding boxes, yeah.
I mean, I've already said I can never remember the scores when you make a double contract. I probably could if I thought about it. But every score is available on the back of the cards, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think you should have an idea how it actually works.
Yeah.
At least. Okay.
Chris, there is one thing that sometimes is quite useful, which we don't do, which is to write on the Traveller what the opening lead was, because
Right.
when you're playing later on, I mean, obviously the first 2 boards, it doesn't help you, but later on, it is sometimes quite useful to know.
Yes. Yes. Now, somebody actually did that in my group for the first time yesterday. Shall we make a decision now about this? Because it is interesting. Would we like each time somebody scores to put the opening lead on?
If you can remember.
Yeah, can you remember?
Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah.
Just look at the first trick underneath the player on the left.
Yeah.
Take the first card out. Whoever was led, you just look at their first card.
Chris, it's
Now,
Richard.
I
Chris.
see. Yeah, go on.
Chris,
Yes,
it's
go on,
Richard.
please. Sorry.
Chris, it's Richard.
Oh, sorry,
Wouldn't
Richard.
that-
Yes.
Wouldn't that slow everything down? Because
Yes.
we're
Yes.
usually under the time clock
Yes.
anyway. And
Exactly.
it's going to
Right.
create a lot of discussion.
Right.
You know,
Um,
now Hitler's back, we're going to be in trouble.
okay. Now, Richard,
Hitler's back.
I'm going to edit this recording to delete that unfortunate reference. At the beginning of next week, we'll have a vote, shall we? Because I can't see you all on the screen. Or shall we? No, let's just, you bother to attend. Let's have a vote when we finish the recording, shall we? And we'll stick to it. I personally think it does slow down things a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see what we all think at the end.
I'm happy to withdraw that suggestion. It doesn't seem.
No,
Forever the diplomat.
I think why don't we just say if people want to put the lead down, they do. What's wrong with that? But if you do put the lead down, don't put King of Hearts or something as a sentence. Just put KH or something like that. Okay. So let's say that those as wants to will put the lead down. So Catherine, there's nothing whatsoever to stop you putting leads down. Of course, there's no point in it if nobody else does, is there? Oh dear. All right. Now, is that enough on scoring? Right. Okay. So let's leave that for now. And I think just for a bit of relaxation now, we'll go on to a few no trump hands. Now, last time we did no trumps, I think we stopped at number 7. And if you're new to all this this evening, what happens? I've got an example deal of declare a play in no trumps, and I think will always be West, okay. And it's about declare a play. We're just going to do 4 hands tonight if we've got time. We'll do the bidding anyway. So what do you open with that hand, please? Opening bid, please.
1 heart.
Yeah, it's a very strong balanced hand, too strong for no trumps. That's 1 heart. Higher ranking of 4 card suits, by the way. The exception being
Hearts
And spades.
and that happens. Partner bids 1 spade.
Oh,
3 no trumps.
2 no
Two
trump. Yeah.
should be 2 no trumps.
Yes, until fairly recent years, people just slammed into 3 no trumps with this. I think 2 no trumps is better. Because at our club, it's recommended that you jump with 18 or 19 points to 2 no trumps. Now, why? Because it is possible that East has 3 hearts and might want to mention them. So he mentions his 3 hearts, but we've only got 4 of them. We might have had 5 of them. Okay, so that's the bidding.
Yeah.
Now we'll just stop there because it's not. I'm still getting interference, some bad interference this evening, I'm afraid, from somebody. Do you understand the bidding?
Yeah.
Now, if you're a bit puzzled by why we didn't jump to 3 no trumps straight away, in modern bridge you only jump to 2 no trumps. Because it's pretty generally recognised that you won't 1 no trump with a 5 card major. And if anybody tells you shouldn't, that's old hat, sorry. Because it gives East a chance to show their 3 hearts. And of course, we revert to 3 no trumps because in fact, we've only got 4. But
But it
actually,
also gives East a chance to show they might have 5 spades by bidding 3 clubs, for example.
indeed, I think there is another example later, if I remember rightly. Of
Oh,
that
sorry.
happening. Well, I'm not sure. I can't remember. There may be, if we get to it. Okay. So the opening lead, if you're new to this, by the way, these arrows just do 1, 2, or 3 or 4 things. I'm sorry, but I'm getting continual interruption from somebody's background, something or other. Speaker. Right, the opening lead is, we've not had this problem for a long time, have we?
No.
And dummy comes down, and I always say, you know, take a half a minute or so, and I want you to come up with a plan. We're going to make 9 tricks. Remember, at this stage, we do try to give priority to group 1 people, those of you who are here.
So four more. Way up to okay. Yeah.
Hear a clock ticking now.
So,
Right. First of all, how many top tricks?
5, 6,
5.
5, and so on there.
That's 5.
Okay.
The ace of
3, 4. Yes. Yeah.
ace of spades, the ace of hearts, the ace and king of diamonds,
Yeah.
the ace of clubs.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, but this, I'm finding it's very difficult because somewhere I think somebody's got something with another speaker. I'm getting. Can the rest of you hear this?
Yeah.
Yes.
We've not. I thought we got rid of this problem. It really is quite irritating trying to speak over that noise. Thank you. We've got 5 top tricks. The question is, as usual, how do we make the other 4? Well, I think the answer is we've bid it correctly, but we need a bit of luck, don't we? How can we make extra tricks here?
Finesse the king of hearts.
Right, that's the first one. I think that was Tony. Well done. And notice with the king of hearts there, if the finesse is successful, in other words, it's with south, we will have to repeat it. It's quite an easy thing when you declare. You're so pleased you finesse something, you forget to repeat it. So we will have to repeat the finesse if it's successful. Good. So that's the first bit of luck we need. That's one possibility.
Finesse the queen of spades, queen of diamonds.
Indeed. If the queen of diamonds is with north, that will be good, won't it?
Yeah.
So we shall play. How shall we play the diamond suit when we do play it?
The jack.
You're the jack up to the jack.
Hard. When Tony says the queen of diamonds, he means the card you're finessing against, of course.
You're playing the jack up to the king there.
No, it could
He's
be
up
to
to
the
the
jack.
jack, the card we're trying to finesse in our own hand, indeed. And the jack will win if north has the queen. So that's another 50-50 chance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Does somebody not realise they're causing massive interference?
Don't know. We haven't got anything on it.
No, not us.
It's ages since we've had that problem. Any other? That's 2 possible extra tricks.
Yeah, there's that.
You hope
Well,
there's
3 actually. 3 actually with the hearts. So we just need another chance, and that is where there is one other chance.
3-3 on the spade.
3-3 on the 3-3 on the hearts. The trouble is, what's the problem with the spades? We'd normally be looking at a 5-card suit. Can you see what's the problem with the spades?
Entry.
You'd never get enough play.
No, we've only got one possible entry. right if I don't say anything, and then I'll get this reverberation. Oh, it's gone again. Yeah, okay. So let's play it out and see if we do need some luck here. Let's play it out and see if that works. So they win 10 of clubs, and they lead back another club, and we decide not to win the ace till the third round. Now, we had 6 clubs originally, didn't we?
Yeah.
How do you decide when to win the ace? We had the ace and 2 others in West, and we had 3 clubs in East. How do you decide how many rounds to hold up? Well, do you remember the old rule of 7? And we had 6 clubs. You take away 6 from 7, and that means you hold up once. However, the trouble with the rule of 7 is it depends how many times you've got to lose the lead. This is a tricky area here, hold up play. So normally you would have won the ace on the 2nd round. The reason we delayed it to the 3rd round is because we have to lose the lead probably twice. Okay. If you're in doubt in this situation, generally it's right to win on the 3rd round. And remember, the whole idea of holding up is that you run one of the other side out of their long suit. Now, what are we going to try now? Let's try a diamond, I think now. We're often lucky on Wednesday nights, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to lead something back. The club. And they're just, fortunately, their clubs were just 4-3, 4-3, weren't they? So they've just taken that last club there. They're going to lead back now. Spade.
Excuse me.
Which we win. And now I think it's time to tackle these hearts.
Yeah. Do you go now?
Close the door again.
One Wednesday night, we're going to have no luck at all. Now, how are we going to get back? Because we've got to repeat this finesse.
6 to the jack of diamonds.
The jack of diamonds.
Find these hands a bit quick to follow. They're all recorded now. You want to look at it again. And now we can repeat our finesse. And it works again. I think we're at claim time. Oh, no, we just got to cash the... Yes, now we can claim indeed. So, okay. And if you've been counting, you'll see that the hearts divided 3-3. So we could claim there. But we needed a fair amount of luck there. We needed 2 finesses to work. Let's have a look at the original hands. There they are. Okay. So we needed the King of Hearts to be with South. It was. We needed the Queen of Diamonds to be with North. It was. And we needed hearts to break 3-3. They did. Now, I make that about a 1 in 12 chance. Now, you'll say this time was lucky. And of course, these finesses are the same for every other pair in the duplicate table. So we can't complain on that score. But you do have to play them right. I mean, for example, if you are going to take finesses, you do need other high cards in other suits often to be able to take them. Do you see what I mean?
That's right. Yeah.
So we didn't just cash our jack of diamonds. We used it as an entry to get back into the hearts later on. I was talking about the club hold up there, and I think I got the impression perhaps people weren't quite sure about this. The idea of holding up in your weakest suit is to try to exhaust one of the opponents of that suit. Now, generally speaking, you can sort of, it's a rough guide, you use the rule of 7. Have you come across that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can remember doing it at Fred Reynolds a few years ago.
Yes.
Now, we've got 6 clubs. So in theory, we should hold up once. In other words, we would have won the ace of clubs on the second round. Okay. Now, the reason I made it one more is because we had to lose the lead potentially twice. Do you get the rough idea?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole complicated subject in itself.
Yeah.
Probably, if in doubt, you tend to hold up your ace. The one time you don't hold up, of course, is if you've got an even weaker suit elsewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Next hand. I do thank whoever's cut out the interference. I don't know what it was, but it's stopped now. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? There's our hand. Bidding, please.
7,
1, 2,
11,
16.
On heart.
4.
Very good. I
One heart,
think that
yeah.
was Sheila Mann not
Yeah.
falling for the trap of the way I've done this Times New Roman print. The spades look longer, don't they?
yeah,
But
do.
with hearts and spades, that's the one exception. We bid one heart. Good. Indeed, that makes it easier to find the spades. It's the one exception. Incidentally, the quality of the suit makes absolutely no difference whatsoever in this kind of bidding. Good. And what do we get back?
Hmm.
2 diamonds.
You can, yeah,
Two
you can go
diamonds.
above the barrier.
Yeah, you've got 16
2
But you've got a barrier.
points. You could go.
The interference has come back, hasn't it? It's somebody speaking.
No,
When
Trump.
somebody's speaking,
Chris,
they have a-
Chris,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering whether it's my, I've not got anything on here,
Oh dear.
anything extra, but I'm going to mute and see if it goes off.
I've just eaten, Keith.
You've just eaten Keith. I thought he didn't look very well.
He said he had nothing on. I mean, that's even more frightening.
Right. Sorry, I because I've been so obsessive about silence again tonight. I'm not getting any answers. So what do we bid next?
2 no trumps.
2 no trumps, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit surprised with the quality of the group here not to get an answer earlier. This is a balanced hand.
Mm.
Yeah.
And we want
Yeah.
to get that message over. So we bid 2 no trumps. Now, I had an interesting question from Rowena this morning. What bids, if any, are forcing to force partner to bid again? Now, this is one because we're forcing to go. We know Easter's got at least 10 points or thereabouts. So when you bid 2 no trumps in modern bidding, this is forcing to go.
Oh, can't
Oh,
hear
sorry.
you.
You got quiet.
Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'll rewind myself. Rowena wanted to know what bids forced by your partner forced you to bid again. And this is one here. Because when you bid 2 no trumps, you know you've got 25 between you. Do you not? Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason you don't bid 3 no trumps is because it gives partner a chance to mention their hearts. You see? Now, I know it doesn't apply here, but we might have had 5 hearts. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can you tell me what our next bid is?
3 no trumps. Eh?
Yeah, so-
This is a very difficult one.
All right. Okay. And I've got it wrong.
One doesn't come up very often.
Well, 3 out.
And would it be 3 spades to show 4 spades?
Exactly. Well done, Beryl, I think that was. Is there any reason the partner might have 4 spades? It could have. We know he's got 3 hearts, not 4. Do you agree?
But why? Why would his first bid be 2 diamonds if he had 4 spades?
Because he had longer diamonds.
He's got 5 diamonds.
Hmm.
And you would show those first if you got 10 or more points. Good question.
But
Anyway, it's a little bit academic because
but
they haven't, and they're going to go back to 3 now.
But if that was the case, sorry, I'm probably being very stupid. But if that
No,
was the case,
Obscure, this one.
he opened 2 diamonds because he's got 5 diamonds. Would his next bid not be 3 spades? It's a 5-4 in his hand. If he had 4 spades.
No, it would be preferable because we may well have 5 hearts. We haven't.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
To show the 3 there.
Yeah. Okay.
And West can always mention the spades if he remembers. I suspect this is new to most of you, that particular.
Yeah.
Particular.
You should have 5 diamonds, 4 spades, 3 hearts, and 1 club when a hand goes down.
They won't have 4 spades, Keith, will they?
No.
Sorry, no, beg your pardon.
They'll have less than 4 spades because, but if they had,
otherwise he would have raised to 4 spades if he got 4 spades.
Quite a subtle bidding sequence, that, isn't it?
Mm.
You see,
Actually,
group 1.
Sorry, Chris.
Sorry,
That
go on.
There's something that's been nagging me for some time because there's 16 points, so you can go above the barrier. In this situation, I've always wondered, do you go to the 2 spades or the 2 no trumps? So you've just answered the reason, why you do the no trump.
And I was watching a repeat of the recording last week, and that came up, and it was you that asked about that, wasn't it? So yeah. So it just shows 4-4 is, apart from the dreaded 4-4-4-1, but they don't happen very often.
Yeah, it's a good example.
Yeah.
Chris.
Group 1, you're probably wondering why we didn't just go 1 no trump, 3 no trumps.
I'll have to go.
Somebody has a question.
The second responder bid of 3 hearts.
Yeah.
If the responder didn't have 3 hearts, but let's say had 4 spades, would he then bid 3 spades at that position?
Well, that's what I asked earlier, John. I thought that.
No, because
But I don't know. I wouldn't be comfortable
they
with
could
this
have
bidding.
mentioned their spades on the first round, you see.
No, you said that even if they had 4 spades, they would show 5 diamonds. They wouldn't bid up the line. They'd show their diamonds.
Yeah.
They
So
yes, they could do.
after the 2 no trump bid, are you saying they would then show their spades?
They could do. Now, this is a little bit of an ambiguous area of bidding, by the way. I was talking to the chap from the English Bridge Union about this. Do you bid, when you've got more than 10 points, do you bid your longer minor or do you bid your 4-card major? That's debatable, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you
I'd
do
always bid up the line. I'd always bid the major,
Yeah.
if the minor was longer?
even if the minor was longer.
I'm inclined to agree with you. So I would bid yes. The answer to your question then is yes. It is quite a difficult area, isn't it?
Mm.
I think I personally prefer to show my major, but I've read books on this and teachers, they vary on this one. So what you need to do is agree with partner, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Gosh, we've had some good questions tonight. All right, well, we're going to play this one out, and I think then we'll stop. So the opening lead is the 5 of clubs, and dummy comes down. Oh, sorry, too soon. 3 of clubs is in dummy.
2, 3,
We're going to make 9 tricks in no trumps.
2, 3,
Oh,
6, 7.
7. Yeah. 3,
No.
no, 1, 2, 3.
Why would you play the
You
ace?
only count the highest cards.
Then what is 1?
3, 4.
Ace, king,
Yeah.
2.
2.
8,
7,
Ace,
3.
king, queen.
3, 6,
No, you don't count king,
3,
queen.
6.
Okay, top tricks.
7.
Seven.
7, yeah.
7. It doesn't look as hopeless as the other one, does it? We're very lucky with the other one.
So the ace, can we count those 3?
How can we make extra
Oh, I
tricks?
see. Yeah, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
length on the diamond.
Yes, length on diamond.
Yes.
Mhm.
Now, there are 6 diamonds out. as you know, the most likely split is 4-2. So we can reasonably hope for one extra diamond. So that's put us up to 8 tricks. Anything else?
We've got the finesse of the Queen of Diamonds.
Yes, the finesse against the Queen of Diamonds. Absolutely right. So in other words, we are going to finesse the Jack of Diamonds. Absolutely right, Tony. Yeah. I'm just you're wondering why I'm quibbling there. When I teach finesses, I have to make sure what I'm describing is correct. So I am going to attempt to finesse against the Queen of Diamonds. Don't I sound pedantic? Sorry. And I am going to try to finesse the Jack of Diamonds. Sorry to be so precise, but yeah. Yes.
Hope our opponents lead hearts as well.
Yeah, yeah. We've
Now,
got 7 hearts.
hearts is one of those dreaded frozen suits, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whoever leads the first to the suit is at a disadvantage. So we might come off okay against that. So let's play that through. So now the way we play this diamond suit is called retaining the finesse. Okay. First of all, why did we win the Queen of Clubs rather than the Ace of Clubs?
Going to lead into away from the king to the Jack Ace.
It gives you an entry into
entry.
dummy.
All right, I think that was Tony, but I didn't quite hear the.
But you've got an entry into dummy, but you're going to lead the 3 towards the Jack Ace.
It's to preserve an entry for the diamonds. This is where you've got to be quite careful, isn't it? At the first trick that you do win, you could win the club anywhere, but always keep an eye on that. Where you're hoping to cash a long suit, try to preserve a high card there, like the Ace of Clubs for entries. Good. Now retaining the finesse means that we play the king first, and that retains the finesse position of the Ace Jack. The reason we play the king first is on the very unlikely situation of the queen being a singleton. So let's play that trick through. And of course, 99 times out of 100, it won't be. Now we try the finesse. Is it Lucky Wednesday? It is again. How many diamonds are left, please?
2.
There's
2.
2.
So let's hope we're going to be lucky with the Ace of Diamonds now.
No.
Well, that would have been too much luck, wouldn't it? Now there is one
You're
diamond.
still going to get 1 though, aren't you?
Yes, exactly. And don't be afraid in a position like this to lose 1 to gain 1.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll play off 1 diamond. North's going to win it. Okay. But when they lead back, we win that Ace of Clubs. We can now jubilantly cash our final.
The diamonds.
We can claim 4 tricks. We can claim the Ace of Spades, the King of Spades, and the King of Clubs. And indeed, I think
The 7 of diamonds.
the 7 of diamonds, Ace of Spades, King of Spades, King of Clubs, and the 7 of diamonds.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's been fairly. We'll stop sharing now, and we're going to stop recording.
Yeah.
It's okay.